morning or afternoon or evening, whatever it is. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. He's Chris Halleck, and we're from DK Pittsburgh Sports. And this is Double Shot of Steelers as presented by our friends at the FanDuel Sportsbook. And this is going to be just a joy, this program. Michael Bobrick just joined us over on our Double Shot of Penguins show. And the Penguins had this big win over the Blackhawks last night in Chicago, 7-3, Justin Brazeau hat trick. And then they just made a trade today to bring a very talented young player in. And everybody's excited. Now we're over here. And the irony of being over here is that this team is playing a game for first place and a home playoff game Sunday night. And everyone's absolutely livid with cause. Chris, that only gets more brutal since it passed, doesn't it? The whole thing yesterday, it gets worse.
It really, really does. I've been watching back, earlier today, I watched back the film on it. And, first off, at first glance, I really thought that Aaron played okay. I didn't think he played great. I didn't think he played bad.
We were disagreeing on this in the car.
I still think, listen,
he didn't throw the football well.
It wasn't even just that. That's not the part that bothered me. That's not the part that bothered me. The part that bothered me more than anything, and I'm going to get into this more with examples of it in Chalk Talk, which will be out later tonight. The part that bothered me more than anything was, number one, there were not enough guys open, period. There just weren't. And they should have had a better game plan for knowing that you were going into a gunfight with a water gun, like a little teeny tiny water gun against guns with real bullets. You don't have what you need to go into facing that kind of a defense. So you have to figure something else out. But even on the plays where somebody did get open, Aaron had already been locked on to a player pre-snap. And there's one play in particular, Adam Thielen's wide open over the middle of the field on third down. It's 3rd and 6. He's wide open over the middle on third down. And before the ball's even snapped, Aaron's already got it in his mind. I'm going to Scotty. And he looked at Scotty for a good 2.5 seconds before he rolled out to his left and then tried to throw to Thielen, but it was way too late. The ball was behind him because it's off platform. It's like if you go through your progression, and I don't know if Adam Thielen's second in the progression on that or not. I don't know. But you can't stay on one guy for that long. You just can't. The entire play gets blown up. And this is the kind of stuff that he did when he was playing poorly in New York. When I don't think he was a big reason why the Jets were as bad as they were. And we're kind of seeing the reason why. The Jets are just bad. But when he was playing poorly in New York, it would be for this reason. He would get locked on to, earlier in the season, he'd get locked on to Alan Lazard, or he'd get locked on to Devontae, and it wouldn't always work. But he would just already predetermine, that's where I'm going. And then he would miss something else entirely because of it. And in this game, it was MVS or Scotty. That was it. That's all he, pre-snap read, that's who I'm going to. And that's a problem. That Aaron can't play like that again, or they're not going to beat Baltimore, period.
Yeah. And part of Aaron playing like that, of course, I'm not going to make another. I've written a full column about this, and I've done a Daily Shot podcast entirely themed on this, is what Larry Shearer humorously describes as being Mike Tomlin's message to the offense on the way out to the field, which is no middle of the field. Don't do anything over the middle. That ties everybody's hands. That ties the coordinator's hands. That ties the quarterback's hands to a large extent. When you saw Rodgers go into the no huddle, and I know this stuff always ends up being the stuff of lore. He went into the no huddle and he was free from society and his shackles, and he was able to do what he wanted down the field. It's not quite that simple, but as Rodgers was moving down the field, you could see him at times looking back over at the Steelers sideline and screaming at them. Now, one can only guess what that is. It could just be something as innocuous as communications and signals and stuff. It might also be like, you see how easy this can be when you use the whole field. What jumps out at me, and Skunkworks does me the nice little favor with the segue here. It asks if Pat Freiermuth is being held hostage. I'm going to give this a shot here. Freiermuth's a very good football player. And he's a guy that probably doesn't get appreciated enough around here because there's certain things from, I don't know, game 6 years ago where he fumbled or whatever, the tie against the Lions from post-COVID year or whatever, that he doesn't get the respect and the love here that he probably should. He doesn't get utilized anywhere near the way he should. Chris, on that last drive, which, by the way, should have ended with 3 attempts to throw the ball to number 88 in the end zone. Not symbolically, not to reward him for taking him the whole way down the field, just because he was your best option. One of the passes, the 29-yarder, the longest pass play that the Steelers had on the day, was Rodgers going over the middle, right down the field to Freiermuth. And we can say, oh, well, Cleveland's in its prevent defense. Cleveland is being cautious there. And then you count the number of orange helmets around Pat. You know what happened? A really good football player made a really good football play. That's what Pat did. He reached up over those guys, caught it, turned in the same athletic move, and bolted downfield. That option was there for you, for Pat to beat lesser players. That was there all day long. They chose not to do it. I promised I wouldn't get into the subject again, but I'm at least modifying it somewhat by framing it around Pat.
Okay. Also, I don't want people to think take things out of context. I did not say people were open over the middle all game.
No.
I did not say that.
They weren't. No,
they
were not open in the middle. They were going to the middle.
There were a lot of people. There were a lot of people that were covered all game long, including in that entire sequence on 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal, and 4th and goal. Nobody's open. Nobody's open. And people are going to say, Kenneth Gainwell on 4th and goal. Okay. It is really, really, really easy to look at a screenshot of Kenneth Gainwell at the 6-yard line with nobody around him. And you can say, oh, that's an easy touchdown. You have a Browns defender right in the middle of the field that is already leaning in the direction that Aaron's looking at MVS. And he is leaning in that direction because Aaron's looking in that direction. If Aaron turns his head and looks in Gainwell's direction, that linebacker will move with that. That's not a guaranteed touchdown. It's just not.
For Gainwell?
Yes.
Yeah.
People can think it is. Now,
I kind of think it is, but okay.
No, it's not. Now, is it a better chance than putting up a one-on-one against MVS against Denzel Ward? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. 100%. It's a higher percentage play. But for people to say that was a guaranteed touchdown, sorry, it's not. NFL players are really fast, and that 5 or 6 yards would close up real quick. Now, maybe Gainwell makes a miss. Maybe Gainwell plays through contact and he gets into the end zone. Probably a pretty good chance he does get in, but it's not guaranteed. So, yeah, that's been one thing that I've seen. It was the better option, 100% the better option, but it wasn't a guaranteed touchdown.
Gamerman says, why is the middle of the field so scary to Mike Tomlin in terms of turnovers? It's not like this team hasn't had turnovers attacking outside the numbers. He's just wired that way, and you're not going to change him 20 years into his career. You're just not. He has believed forever and ever and ever, and I'm not guessing it, as he's talked about it. The team that wins the turnover battle wins the game. Well, you can say yesterday, hey, the Browns turned the ball over twice. The Steelers didn't turn it over at all. They actually did. They turned it over by missing a field goal. They turned it over with the 4th and 1 silliness to Scotty Miller. They gave the ball away. They gave points away. It happens in one direction or the other. If you are excessively cautious on offense, I've got a guy here in the chat who's freaking out and putting up the same post again and again and again here about how he sees 50% of the passing plays were middle of the field routes. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. If you were there, if you were in one of those orange seats and you're looking at the whole thing, you can see the whole thing. That wasn't the case. We were looking at this repeatedly through the game. Now, if you want to factor into it the 1 or 2 minutes, the final 1 or 2 minutes of each half, you're going to run up the score on this count. But even then, Tomlin is playing into his own fears because he sees that the Browns have backed off a little bit. He goes, oh, look, the Browns are letting us use the middle of the field. Well, let's try that. So I almost feel like I want to just move past this stupid game. But I also feel like I can't. This doesn't feel like one of those you can just flush away, Chris.
No,
this was not just bad. Like I never heard you talk about them and their season the way you did after the game yesterday. Like this is over. This is toast.
No, well, first off, like I was having a conversation with somebody today, and they were like, you know what? It wouldn't be the most surprising thing to me if they did come back and win against the Ravens, because that's just the way. I'm like, honestly.
Yeah,
I have no hope that they can do that, because this feels like last year. And now it's not a 5-game collapse, but it feels like
the Browns are worth 5 losses, though. When you lose to the Browns, it feels like 5 losses.
The reason why it feels similar to last year, I shouldn't say the same, but similar. What happened last year, and one of the reasons for the 5-game collapse, was teams figured out what the Steelers were doing on offense. It was just go balls. That's what they were doing. All right, well, we're going to take that away. Good luck. And the offense became stagnant. They couldn't do what they needed to do. Now, this time, it's the Browns just gave the Ravens the blueprint for how to play against this offense without DK Metcalf and without Calvin Austin.
Yep.
Now, and the Ravens don't have to go, oh, man, we're a zone-heavy team. We're a too-high team. We've got to draw up this game plan that we're not comfortable. No, the Ravens are predominantly a single-high team. They're predominantly a man-coverage team.
They'll fit like a glove.
This is in their wheelhouse, and the Browns just gave them the blueprint and be like, listen, just man up on them all game long, because the combination of Adam Thielen and MVS and Scotty Miller and Roman Wilson is not going to beat your man coverage. So now maybe you can question, are the Ravens corners and defensive backs as good as the Browns in Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell? No, they're not.
I'll take Marlon Humphrey, but yeah.
Marlon Humphrey's good, and Nate Wiggins is pretty good, but but still, the overall blueprint is there. I don't feel good that the Steelers are going to be able to beat that, because even the one thing that they were doing well, they abandoned. They didn't do it. They didn't run the ball.
Right.
Like, and you're not going to run
I
the ball.
have that one queued up from a viewer here. The other people who don't necessarily believe in the Steelers' ability to pull this game off, even though it's at home, are the bettors.
Yeah, very true.
And the football finale that we've all been anticipating, and I did say, going back to the summer, that this game was going to be the one that decided the division, is finally coming up on us. That's Sunday night, by the way, if you're not familiar with that, at 8:15 p.m. kickoff at Acrisure Stadium. It's time to check out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on the FanDuel Sportsbook. What you got there, Chris?
Ravens by 3.5.
Here, after the Steelers beat them there in Baltimore by 5.
And it's not certain that Lamar Jackson is playing.
That's how little everybody thinks of the Steelers, including the ones with the literal most to lose, meaning the ones who are putting money on it. If you think the Steelers are going to prevail and they're going to take care of the Ravens, you go ahead and lock in your bets today. Go against the grain. Whatever your game is, the FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials so that you can join in on all the action. And you can do that every week. It's not just related to the Steelers, obviously. The question that was posed here, I started this and set it aside here. was no, not that one, not this one, not middle of the field. Oh, Matt asks, DK, has there been a worse loss for you? Dude, I covered the playoff games in Denver. Both of them. I covered Tebow and Peyton Manning. This doesn't even this isn't even on the same stratosphere.
No,
we're talking about the. Go ahead.
But okay,
I'm just talking about how hard the players took it. That's how I take the question.
Right, I take it as like, okay, if you lose a random game in October to a really bad team, it's bad. Sure, it's really, really bad. If you go into another team stadium that's won only 3 games in the second
whole season,
in the penultimate week of the season, and your circumstance is win and you win your division, not win and something else happens, then it's literally win the game in front of you, beat that crappy team that's on the other sideline, and you win your division. And that's the performance that you put on the field. Like, to me, this is up there for one of the all-time Tomlin losses. Like,
yeah, if you're looking at it from that, I thought it was like, I thought the question was, is this one of the toughest you covered from the standpoint of a locker room? This wouldn't even be in the top 25.
No, I felt like I've covered more somber locker rooms too. Like,
yeah, this is nothing of the kind. They used to play important games around here.
Now, Buffalo, the game after Buffalo, a few weeks ago, that was a pretty bad locker room. That was bad. That was one of the worst I've covered.
ESN comes in with a $20 contribution, and that's appreciated. Says, DK, why don't we pass to our running backs more often? Here comes some stats for you, but I'll read the rest of the question first. Kenny Gainwell was wide open on that final play. He was. Whether you thought he was going to get in or not is a different matter. He was definitely open, uncovered, actually. The Lions passed to Gibbs. The Eagles passed to Saquon Barkley. The Bills passed to Cook. What are the Steelers doing? Well, the Steelers do pass to Gainwell. In this game, they elected to pass to Marquez Valdez-Scantling 9 times and Gainwell 4 times. I don't even know where Jaylen Warren was in the targets, but
I don't know if he had one.
He wasn't.
Honestly.
He wasn't getting the ball either. So you're missing out on a lot of targets where you could have had
not one target for
average.
Jaylen.
Great, that's good stuff. Well done. Now, I don't mean to keep pounding the same issue here, but where are you going to throw to your running backs? Where are you going to get them moving? You're going to do it over the middle of the field. That scares the head coach. He doesn't want any part of it. So where are you going to send? Where are you going to throw these passes? Sideways. What's going to happen when you throw those passes sideways? You saw that too. You can't play this way. You can't approach. I'll get broader here. You can't approach. Don't laugh at this, because this is the way they need to be thinking, not us. You can't approach the pursuit of a championship by being passive. You can't say, well, let's be really, really careful here. And their young quarterback is terrible. So let's just hope that he makes some mistakes. And how did Tomlin put this? I'm going to read this quote out loud.
Well, while you find that,
I have it.
Okay.
I'll just make the point real quick here. Direct quote from Mike Tomlin. I don't think we played poorly.
Yeah.
I just think we didn't make enough plays. We never made that signature play that kind of got us over the hump. That generally is the deciding factor in games like this. Let me translate as someone who's covered the man for 2 decades. And based on other times he has said stuff like this, I'm going to tell you what he's actually saying. When he says, I don't think we played poorly, he means, A, that the defense played pretty well, because that's always his first concern. B, that the offense didn't turn the ball over. That's his other concern. That's how he coaches. Have the defense play well, have the offense not screw up. That's how he's coached ever since Ben Roethlisberger retired. Okay? When he says, I just think we didn't make enough plays, you can put into parentheses here with the help of your little Duolingo translator. Nick Herbig should have caught that ball. Okay, no, that's what he's saying.
I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah, he's saying Herbig should have caught that ball and run it in for a pick six because my defense should be winning games for us and my offense should just exist. And he says we never made that signature play that kind of got us over the hump. That also means Herbig should have caught that ball.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't hear anybody talking about this today. And I'm not ripping on Nick. No one could be tougher on himself than Nick after that. Thing went right through his hands.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's the way the head coach thinks. And that's why the head coach takes the field telling his offense to keep its tail between its legs. And this is what happens. This is what happens.
Well, and the thing is that, the part of this that bothers me more than anything when it comes to the Tomlin perspective on this game, outside of that, is when the start of the game is brought up and the Browns getting out to a quick 10-0 lead, and he's like, the start doesn't matter. Like the start is just the start. A lot of these games go. I'm like, I'm sorry, the start absolutely does matter. If you come out and you punch Shedeur Sanders in the mouth, figuratively, obviously, not literally, that game plays differently. It just does. You might win the game 6-0 or 6-3.
Oh, you might run away with it.
But that's the thing. Like, even if your offense sucks, the beginning of that game matters. And the one thing that the Steelers needed to be cognizant of is that even against the Bills last week, the Browns came out with their script and executed it very well. They should have expected the Browns to be probably the most dynamic with what they were going to do early on. Like, that's what they should have anticipated, because they just did it against Buffalo. So do what you can. Like, I'm not saying blitz 6 guys every single time, but throw some weird stuff at him. Throw some weird stuff. Stop the run and then make Shedeur confused. Make him do something different other than just, hey, we're just going to try to beat them. Like that, you have to make sure, if that game starts differently, where if the Browns don't go down and get a field goal in their first drive, or even if they do, but then that second drive, they're like, all right, yeah, no more of that. And then they do something to make sure that the Browns punt or turn the ball over on that drive. That game might play out completely differently, because how long were the Browns sitting at 10 points for the rest of the game? It wasn't until the Steelers at the very, very end had that 2-minute drill that didn't gain a yard, and then they turned the ball over to the Browns, and then they still couldn't get another first down and kick a field goal because they're already in field goal range when they were giving the ball back. So that Browns offense couldn't do anything outside of just allowing them to go down for 2 series. That's the start matters. And that is something that Tomlin has stood by for years now. And it's something that Tomlin does that I don't agree with at all.
Vic Hondo says Jaylen Warren was averaging 5.3 yards a carry. He was really good.
He was very good.
The Steelers abandoned the run again. The Steelers were the one team really that's been very good at stopping Warren. That game yesterday, when you're down a couple of key guys, run the ball. The Steelers did run the ball, and then they would stop. Then they would run the ball, and then they would stop. Then they would run the ball again, and then they would do some sideways crap. I saw somebody here saying earlier, I sound like a broken record. It's because all the roads lead there. I can take a conversation. I can do Kevin Bacon on you here. Okay. Mm-hmm. I can take it multiple degrees, and it's all going to come back to Kevin Bacon's smiling face. And Kevin Bacon, in this case, is represented by the middle of the football field. You have Warren running really well. I thought Gainwell ran harder than his stats would show. I didn't think Kenny was ineffective at all, even though his stats were nothing explosive.
Well, to be fair, 2 of his runs were on that 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 6, where it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right. So
yeah.
If you watched the game the Ravens played the previous night in Green Bay, and you saw, how old is Derrick Henry now?
31.
31? Okay. And you watched John Harbaugh say to Henry, hey, I don't care how old you are. I don't care if we have another game to play this year or not. I am running you until you bleed. You're going to fall apart on that field, but you're going to carry the ball until we win this game against the Packers. That's how you do it.
Yep.
What you had with the Steelers, they had the running backs and they were like, nah, let's go sideways. Let's do that too.
Or let's keep forcing the ball to our receivers who can't get open, or continue asking Aaron to make plays
out of the pocket
when he's obviously not comfortable. Like obvious, like it should be on Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin at that point to see, okay, not only are guys not getting open, but even the few times they are getting open,
he's not in today.
Yeah. So go with your best players at that point, and your best players through at least the first quarter and a half. It's like, okay, Jalen's feeling it today. Let's just feed Jalen. I don't know why this coach and this team refuses to just, like, I think about, because it's not like the coach is incapable of doing it. I think it was against the Titans it was a primetime game, but this was, I don't remember what year it was. They literally, like, Mike Tomlin wrapped up Le'Veon Bell in a ball and just took him and shoved him down the Titans' throat in this game. And we're like, you are going to, I'm force feeding you Le'Veon Bell all night long. And I got to remember which game this was, but I remember that game specifically being like, it literally is just, we're literally going to have Le'Veon just run all over you all game long. And they won, and they dominated the game. It was not quite as impressive as what Derrick Henry did against the Packers, but it was an equivalent of that in terms of the mentality. And if Jalen Warren is running that way against that defense, keep doing it. Like, why stop? I didn't get that.
Yeah. Now, from the defensive perspective, I'll acknowledge, and I think this is kind of obvious, that those guys yesterday had about a drive and a half where things weren't going their way. Obviously, the Kyle Duggar gross misplay cost them the only touchdown of the game by either team. I still have no idea what he could have been doing there. But if you look at the rest of it, and you look at in particular, Alex Highsmith, who was wonderful. He just played a beautiful football game. Mm-hmm. Even when he wasn't all the way getting there, he was making something happen. He was forcing things. He caused the one interception, the one to Jack Sawyer, mm-hmm. by just being all over Shedeur Sanders. And they got it done. And you can take credit away from them because that's the worst young quarterback in the NFL I've seen in a long time. And you can say that, and you can look at who they had. They had nothing but Jerry Jeudy, really, as a weapon. Although Jeudy played a good game.
Yeah, but and even then, their biggest weapon is Fannin, and Fannin
went out. Yeah,
went out. Like, so, and you could tell, like, he catches the touchdown, and I don't think it's an accident that Cleveland's offense didn't do anything after Fannin left. Like, he is the engine for their offense. By the way, I did look it up just now. 2014, I was right. Le'Veon Bell in that game against the Titans, 33 carries for 204 yards and a touchdown.
What were you saving him for, right, Coach?
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. You let him run. Let him run. So what you do now? You're not going to have Metcalf. You're not going to have Darnell Washington. So you lose two of your bigger bodies. What you do is you line up to block. You line up to block. You stop pretending that you can be something that you're not, and you're not going to throw over the middle because now it would just be you're going to be conceding to everybody that they were right and you were wrong. So what do? You run the football. You run the football like crazy. You try to do to Baltimore what they did to the Packers. Remember we kept saying, too, as that game was going on, we're watching it up in Cleveland. Like, I don't know, can they keep doing this? Can they keep doing this? Look at this ratio. Look at the number of touches that Derrick Henry's already had. And they just did. They would bring in, who was it, Mitchell?
Keaton Mitchell, yeah.
He wouldn't do nothing. The dude could get like a yard and a half, whatever. He would just buy some clock.
He had a couple good carries in there. Yeah.
Okay. But out of there wasn't a whole lot going on there when we wouldn't be talking about how he ran the ball down there.
Compared to what Derrick Henry is doing. Yeah, it wasn't nearly as impactful.
This is what the Steelers would need to do. They would need to run the ball. They would need to try something intelligent. They would need to do some of the stuff that they did in Detroit. I don't know that that's going to happen. I'm no different right now. I'm going to tell you that the stuff you heard from Chris here just a few minutes ago. I don't see anything. If somebody said, well, what if they beat Baltimore? Well, they might. Anything can happen. They can beat the Ravens. Heck, they just beat them a month ago down there. So it can happen. But what's going to come of it beyond that? They lose a full week of extra bonus recovery from these injuries. The 42-year-old quarterback gets a chance to heal up a little bit. You had all these pluses lined up, and you leaked all over them up there. That's what you did. You leaked all over them. MJ says the sad part is no one is surprised by this. They almost expect it. How our expectations have lowered. Is there any hope of change? You want the hope question? There's hope of change because someday the head coach will change.
Yeah, I think the one thing in terms of the most tangible change, or let's say the most likely change, because I don't think Mike Tomlin's getting fired.
No.
I don't think anything is changing drastically with the coaching staff. Maybe Terrell Lawson doesn't come back because I believe his contract is up, so they have the out. Instead of
they always have the out. To be clear here,
well, they do.
That's a self-made rule there. Okay, that they can't fire people while they're under contract.
Yeah, it is. But the one thing that the one change that needs to happen, that actually can happen, is actually from the person who I think is probably least to blame in all of this, and that's Omar Khan. Omar has done, in my opinion, a great job in building a roster for the most part. And a really good example of that is drafting Jack Sawyer. When Jack Sawyer was drafted, a lot of people were like, we don't need another edge rusher, blah, blah, blah. Like, come on. Well, that depth is paying off now because Omar is smart enough to see, okay, TJ is the most reliable out of who we have, but even he's not perfect in terms of staying healthy. Alex Highsmith, notorious for not staying healthy for an entire season. Nick Herbig, notorious for not staying healthy for an entire season. We need the added depth, and they got that, and it's paid off now. So that's an example. However, we have now seen 2 straight Decembers in which the number 1 receiver has not been available, either because of injury or because of suspension. And it has shot this team in the foot because there's not another receiver on the roster who can step up and be anything close to be a replacement for that number 1 receiver being gone. And it doesn't have to be this other bona fide number 1. It doesn't have to be. But you can't have it be this drop-off from DK Metcalf to Marquez Valdez-Scantling or to Calvin Austin or to whoever else. That's too big of a drop-off. You've got to be able to have firepower at receiver. No matter what your offense is, you have to have it. Even the Rams, who nobody uses more tight ends in the league right now than Sean McVay. Even they have Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. Like, it's just a requirement nowadays.
There are teams, and this applies to all sports, and includes all 3 of the Pittsburgh teams. You can find, when it comes to internal acquisition, and that means the draft in football, but it means other things in other sports. You can find one position that's just always that shortcoming, where you can tell that the management of that team just either doesn't understand how important it is or just isn't any good at evaluating it. Okay, the Pirates haven't had a decent first baseman since Kevin Young. Now they've had multiple different. You're thinking, Adam LaRoche.
Dude, seriously. I think didn't we play a game like on a road trip last year?
Depending on how you. I mean, I thought KY had a real nice half decade here, real stable guy and everything. Okay? If you wanted to go to a star level, which even KY would tell you he's not that guy, you'd have to go back to Willie Stargell.
Yeah,
50 years ago.
Huh.
Okay. the Penguins for years had a difficult time with left defense. Who knows why? Even because most defensemen in hockey, amateur levels, all levels, happen to be left-handed. It's a really weird, fluky thing, but it's the truth. It's just easier to play defense from that side, so they teach. I believe we were having a conversation about this in the press box just yesterday in some capacity.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have shortcomings. In Omar's case, I just don't know that he's prioritizing the wide receiver position commensurate to where it needs to be in the year 2025. For years and years and years, I'd say in the draft, how many in a row would you say there were so many wide receivers that you could confidently say, oh, we can wait till the fourth round? I remember when Sammy Coates was taken. It was in the fourth round, unless I'm mistaken here. Okay.
I believe he was, yeah.
And Sammy came in, big, strong dude who could fly. This wasn't someone who looked like some later round pick. They just kept, what is it, third round? They just kept falling from the sky. And Sammy was just another dude. And you weren't surprised at all to see him. Martavis, third rounder. Martavis, God's creation. Yeah. So maybe he or Kevin Colbert, when Colbert was running the place, were like, don't worry about wide receiver. Those will just show up. Okay. So then they get to the third round and they take Roman Wilson. And they go, well, here's Roman. Well, I'm sorry, man. Listen, there's a lot that I admire about Roman and how hard he's worked and everything else here. But if you had like one of those usual suspects type lineups and you put Roman in a room with Sammy Coates and Martavis Bryant, whatever, you would see that one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. The problem, I understand that I have been at times a little bit more on the optimistic side for Roman. I said at the time that he was drafted, and I've maintained since then, that the biggest concern about him was that he was primarily a slot receiver in Michigan who didn't have a well-developed route tree. He could do one thing really, really well at Michigan, and that were those high crosses. He would take chunks out of defenses at Michigan with those high crosses. But when you are primarily a slot receiver in college, because you aren't a refined route runner, there's a lot of work that has to go into becoming a legitimate NFL receiver. And it's not like the Steelers haven't developed those. Deontay Johnson, when he was drafted out of Toledo, was not the greatest route runner in the world. He turned into one. He developed into one. And
they knew he had that skill set. They knew he could do that. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just been a complete miss on thinking that Roman could do something similar. But that was the big concern about Roman coming out of college. And so now when you're looking at what they have to do next year, regardless of what happens this season, beating the Ravens, going on, they could prove us all wrong and go on and win the Super Bowl. They have got to get this addressed. They do. K-Chap
says, did the team have that mentality during the week that the Ravens would lose and the game would mean anything? We know we can't know stuff like that. Appreciate the contribution. They certainly wouldn't express such a thing if they knew it. So that one's tough to get into here. This guy's been riding us the whole show here. We're going to give him one little shout here. So many DK videos claiming up and down this team wasn't done at wide receiver. You understand we're not the ones who decide that, right? Like, we're not the ones. We can't storm their offices and say, get out of the way, Omar. Chris and I are here to go and get a wide receiver. That's up to them. What we report to you is what they're telling us. If you want to get mad at somebody, go yell at them.
Also, somebody who also wasn't paying attention to all the times that I was reporting, because I remember specifically reporting, especially in August, like coming off of the heels of them inquiring about Terry McLaurin, that if a receiver becomes available, Omar's he's going to pursue it. He's at least going to see, okay, what would it take to get this to happen?
Yeah, pursuing it doesn't mean you're acquiring.
But the answer I always kept getting when, they reached out, they knew they weren't getting McLaurin. Like, they just knew, it's not happening. Great.
Yeah.
But then, so my follow-up question to my source is, who are you going to next? And the answer I got was, they are happy with what they have at receiver. They're willing to add to it, but they're happy with what they have. They're confident.
Everybody's mad. They're going to take it out on us. And here, I'm about to make them even madder because Enrique here says, why waste time with analysis? This was scripted.
Oh, God. Here we go.
No, I'm not even going to. Okay, I just want you guys to understand that when you talk about things like being scripted or fixed or rigged, you're telling on yourself in the worst way. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because the next thing that'll have to when you're sharing that with somebody who's rational, you don't even have to be knowledgeable about this, just rational. And think to yourself, how many people have to be in on it? And then how many times you've heard about it after the fact from somebody ratting it out. Just don't. Okay. Even if it feels like the thing to go with the flow on social media or whatever, don't. It's not a good look. The other one, and I can't believe this even comes up, is this Myles Garrett nonsense.
Yeah.
If you think that the Steelers were thinking about stopping Garrett so that he doesn't get the record against them, the next game that comes on TV, this is an order now. Turn the sound down. Just watch it. Watch it like in the press boxes. There are televisions, but the sound is all the way down. We never hear anything that they say. I have no idea what they were telling you on that broadcast, but judging from a lot of the comments that we've gotten, it was all about Myles and his record. We're not thinking about anything like that in the press box. I don't know how many people in the stadium. They did start a chant late. We're thinking about it. It just wasn't at all on anybody's mind. The Steelers needed to win a football game. If you think they're thinking about Myles Garrett, do you know who on this team actually cares about Garrett in one capacity or another? Do you think Dylan Cook gives two craps? Dylan Cook's in his third NFL start. You think he's going, I don't want Garrett to get the record because I don't like Garrett because of what he did with Rudolph's helmet or whatever years ago. It's just, man, don't tell on yourself like that. Just don't do it.
If you think the Steelers traded trying to win a division just to this goes to a level of delusion I can't
it's not. And then people were complaining about the commentating and Tony Romo. Turn it off.
Yeah.
You don't have to hear what he has to say. The only things you need to hear on a football broadcast ever, is when you see the referee standing there in front of the camera, turn it up and hear what the ref has to say. That's it. That way you find out what the call is, whatever, and then hit the mute button again. And all I'm going to get now is 500 different Tony Romo comments. I don't care what he had to say. It's just turn it off, turn it down to keep it, whatever. If it bothers you that much, and it apparently does, you don't need to. We did what we usually do against Garrett. Yeah, Garrett doesn't get much against the Steelers.
He has one really good game every 4 or 5 games.
But if you think this was their thought process in this, come on, man. Nope. You're hurting the whole fandom's brand by even talking about weird stuff like that. Don't do it.
Now,
don't do it.
The one thing that you can criticize, or people can criticize, is how they try to minimize Garrett's impact. Because there are a number of different ways you can do it. You can do it through we're going to double team him to death, or we're going to chip him to death, or we're going to do everything to go like teams were doing early in the season when they were just running to the other side away from TJ Watt. We're not running at TJ Watt. There are things in which you can literally go against the grain. Okay, Garrett is going to come most likely from this side, whatever side it is. Let's just say he's going to come from our left. Okay, call a screen pass. Know that he's gonna rush. Call a screen pass where you literally put it over his head, or you put it behind him.
Yeah.
Do something where you take him out of the play. It doesn't always have to be run away from him. But to say that that was their focus more than trying to win the football game is ridiculous.
Craig says, "Oh, thanks for letting us know what we can criticize." Not what I said. Not what I said. I said if the announcers really bother you that much, don't listen to them. That's very different than what you just said there. And it's advice. I'm not in a position to, who the hell am I?
I think the one thing that we're trying to say here is not like the thing. What we're trying to say is don't buy into this delusion that they were more concerned about stopping Garrett from getting the sack record than winning a division title. No football team would be doing that. No football team.
I'm feeling feisty. This guy who's been at us the whole chat says, "Don't believe your lying eyes." He accuses us of doing that sort of thing. But this same individual earlier said that when Jaylen Warren fumbled, that it's all too common. This is what he does. How many fumbles this season for Jaylen? How many?
I'll look that up.
Don't believe your lying. No, I know the answer. But how many don't believe your lying eyes? How many fumbles does Jaylen have this season? Not my eyes, not your eyes, an actual reality. How many? Oh, then he says, no, and then he quickly amends it. Fumble rate. Okay, what's his fumble rate relative to running backs across the National Football League? I can wait on that one too, because I also know where he ranks in that regard. So if you're mad at the team, I'm going to say this again. If you're mad at the team, they got tickets. There's yellow seats available for you. Go over there and yell at them. Do whatever you want. But just because we're sitting here, no thanks. Let's take one more today. I had it down here. Here it is. LV says, the Steelers as a whole may not have game planned to prevent the sack record. Oh, God. How could we appreciate the contribution, but it's not may not have. It's that it would be utterly insane to even have that cross your mind. Then he says, but Aaron certainly cared. No, Aaron Rodgers is trying to win a football game. He's not trying to match whatever the narrative is that's being spoken on your television. I've never seen him so uncomfortable. That's because they were getting back there. And actually, it wasn't even Garrett. Never mind, as you put it here, the ghosts of Garrett. Guys, you rise above a little bit here, okay? Yeah. They're not thinking about Miles bleeping Garrett just because the commentators are.
The problem with Aaron yesterday was there were no receivers getting open consistently. And he then he does one of two things. He gets into first reads not there, I'm bailing. Well, you can't really do that against the Browns. You can't do that against Myles Garrett because he will get you. He will get you. He's superhuman. He will get you. Or the second thing that he does is before the snap, like before the ball is even snapped, he's determining where he's going. I'm going to Scotty or I'm going to MVS. That's what he did. And that's when Aaron doesn't play well, is whenever he is either first read and bail or he is pre-snap determining pre-snap. And rigid in that. That's when he's not playing well. Period. It has very little to do with Myles Garrett other than the fact that Myles Garrett is a very dangerous pass rusher. He could have had 22 sacks going into that game or 2 sacks going into that game. Aaron was probably going to play the same way because the number of sacks that Garrett had going into that game did not matter in that regard. They just didn't.
Last 2 quick lines here. Paul Webendorfer says, how ugly is this conversation going to be next week after the Baltimore loss? Yeah, we'll deal with one thing at a time. Yeah, one brutal, horrific event. I do feel this is worth bringing up here since I just referenced him. Mark Verlotta asks, how did Dylan Cook play? I'm going to tell you that I thought Cook played quite well. He handled his challenge. His challenge was not solo. The Steelers did a whole lot of chipping over there. They made a lot of things happen. They made sure that they neutralized Garrett, not so that they could go along with what the TV announcers were saying, but because that's a good way to win a football game. Dylan Cook played well. However, when I approached him and asked him something similar, Mark, he came right back with that false start, which I thought was a lousy call, incidentally. And I told Dylan that. I thought I did see his right shoulder move, but I saw it move in conjunction with the ball being snapped by Zach Frazier. He still took it hard. He said, I cost my team that drive. He has stayed humble through these 3 weeks, and that's to his credit. I thought he did really well, Chris.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the offensive line was, as a whole, was pretty good in the game. I think the offensive line has been pretty good for 4 games now. They've created lanes for the running game. They've given Aaron enough time to make throws. Yesterday was a little bit more difficult in terms of protecting the quarterback, but it's going to be when you're facing Myles Garrett and a couple of other really talented pass rushers. That's not an easy front to face in terms of protecting the quarterback. So no, I thought the offensive line and Dylan Cook all played well. It wasn't great. It wasn't their best game of the season, but it definitely was nowhere near their worst. They played pretty well.
No, we appreciate you guys. Appreciate the contributions that have come in, and appreciate having all kinds of feedback, good and bad, and even those of you who spent the afternoon just attacking me and Chris as if we were out there making calls or not acquiring wide receivers or whatever else, because that's the way it is right now. We understand that. That's the mood. We're the ones who choose to step into it every day, and that's part of it. On the other hand, what's kind of cool is whenever the Steelers are winning, people think we're awesome. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're doing the same work. We're working just as hard. And it's like, you guys, your coverage is the best. Meanwhile, it's not any different. It's not any different.
Our coverage does not change.
It does not change. It does not change. We put just as much effort into the coverage yesterday in Cleveland as we did the big W in Detroit. Trust me. In fact, we drove a little bit longer to Detroit. So, all right, guys, we're gonna do another one of these tomorrow at 4 p.m. Don't forget, we also do a double shot of Penguins now as well, and the Penguins are playing tomorrow night against your. They're not here anymore. The Carolina Commodes. They're over there on the chair. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.